What's happening, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Definitely a busy Tuesday. Definitely a lot going on. Not 100% sure how many folks are around tonight, or how many folks want to talk shop or want to talk football tonight. But if there are people out here that would like to do that, and let's just call a spade, get a little of a break from the election and all the action surrounding the election as we await the results tonight. Here to hang for a bit to talk shop. Can talk waivers. It was a quiet NFL trade deadline. And if anybody has any questions as they get into the stretch run, the trade deadline for your league is likely in a couple of weeks. So we can use tonight to talk about whatever you want. Maybe get a break from everything else that's going on this evening before at least it all goes down. So happy to go over whatever anybody wants to go over this evening. I know it's a unique day. It's a busy day. But we can maybe take a break from everything going on in the real world and talk some shop here today. So happy to go for as long as folks want to. Again, before all the action goes down tonight, where, regardless of where you stand or what you got going on, you might be tuning in some way, shape, or form to see what the results are. But until then, we can talk shop. We can talk ball. Happy to do that. I'll go over waiver wire options, like an overarching thought process, as always, on guys who are more than likely available in your league. Certain leagues, larger leagues, there might be guys that I bring up that are already rostered, but we'll hit on what I think are the top options that are more widely available as far as waivers. Not much to go over from the trade deadline. Not a whole lot from a fantasy perspective. So, we thought there may be a receiver or two potentially on the move, and we didn't get more than, no disrespect, but we didn't get anything more than Jonathan Mingo. So, and Mike Williams. Not a whole lot going on in that space. So waivers, and then of course, if anybody has anything going into, not just this week, but your trade deadline is probably a couple weeks from now, at most. So, what to do in that stretch of time that you have left to potentially build upon your roster or improve on your roster. We can get into all that. What's going on, Greg? Looks like you had a bit of a rough matchup. Yeah, there were a lot of high scores this week. In fact, generally speaking, from what I saw when I was just like combing through the different matchups, different leagues, a lot of people had a strong week. I feel like there were a lot of strong performances. So, but then that means, of course, that some people are on the receiving end of those. So sorry to see. And then while I don't see any start-sit questions yet, again, as always, let's table those tonight. Nobody needs to set a lineup until Thursday at the earliest, and I will be live on Thursday before Bengals-Ravens. We need to see practice reports. We need to see injury statuses, all that good stuff. Who are the Week 10 bye weeks? I think there's four or so teams, I believe. The Browns, the Packers, the Raiders, and the Seahawks are on bye this week. So, maybe a Jerry Jeudy isn't exactly a priority waiver wire ad this week. Getting lots of opportunities, but on a bye this week. So not exactly a name that's actually worth prioritizing on the wire. He would have been somebody I would have considered, though, because he's been a strong, actually not strong, but he's been a consistent wide receiver 3 for the past couple of weeks, and he has the situation and tools to keep it up. But a week 10 bye, you can probably fly under the radar a little bit. You could, if you have a roster spot and you're looking for a depth wide receiver and he's available, you could probably let him pass through waiver since it's a bye week and pick him up without any type of fob or waiver claim needing to actually be, posted tonight, or that you have to actually execute on tonight. He could fly under the radar a little bit. And then Jawan Jennings, it's possible he was dropped. If you need a depth wide receiver, he's now past his bye week. Presumably fourth at best in the pecking order and any 1 week, and maybe fifth. Kittle, Debo, McCaffrey, not fifth because Ayuk is out for the season, hence why he has any type of appeal. But again, another depth wide receiver outside of Judy for this week that is possibly available in your league. Jennings could be that guy. If you're looking for a running back, I will continue to advocate for Jaylen Warren. He is still available in about 60% of leagues, depending on where you look, and now past his bye week. He's probably worth grabbing as some running back depth, and we all need running back depth one way or another. So checking to make sure that Jaylen Warren is not available on your waiver wire. If he is, and you could use running back help, which is most likely your case, go ahead and grab him. Some decent quarterback options as well. Drake May, Justin Herbert. Herbert is actually probably pretty widely available in one quarterback formats, somewhere around the 50% mark. So in half of leagues, he is available if you need a quarterback. Whether you have Jordan Love on bye or maybe even Geno Smith. You probably weren't using Gardner Minshew or Jameis Winston, but in Superflex leagues, those guys are on the radar. Of course, Herbert's already rostered in Superflex formats, but if he's available in one quarterback leagues and you need a quarterback, they're throwing the ball a decent amount, and we know that Herbert is a good quarterback. So it's a unique scenario where an upper echelon quarterback, just through the circumstances of like how frequently his offense throws the football and the weapons that he has, he just so happens to be available in more leagues than not. Worth a flyer. Deeper depth options at wide receiver. Jalen McMillan, even though he didn't play this past week, figures to continue to get opportunities just because Chris Godwin is out for the rest of the season. We expect Mike Evans to come back in a few weeks. Meanwhile, Cade Otton continues to dominate targets, but somebody needs to pick up the slack eventually for the Bucs in the wide receiver department. It was Sterling Shepard last night for them on Monday Night Football, but McMillan figures to continue to get opportunities in this offense moving forward, even though he missed the Monday Night Football. Decent depth wide receiver. Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker, decent stashes. Probably deeper leagues only, but even in 12-team leagues, you might be able to find the space if you need some wide receiver help. Quentin Johnston would also fall into that range. And then deeper targets at running back. Khalil Herbert just got traded to Cincinnati. Zach Moss is on injured reserve with a neck injury. Will miss a minimum of 4 games. Sounds like it's possible he misses even more than that. So somebody's going to have to do something in that backfield behind Chase Brown, who has top 10 appeal at least at the running back position, probably rest of season, not just this 4-game stretch. But Khalil Herbert has a little bit more viability now, moving from a situation where he was the odd man out in Chicago to potentially having to be a contributor sooner than later in Cincinnati. So not bad. And Audric Estime, Lord Audric Estime, first of his name, Slayer of Dragons. Excellent name for a fancy medieval knight, whatever you want to call it. Audric Estime expected to get more opportunities in the Broncos backfield alongside Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin. So if you are needing running back depth, he probably won't cost much. If you don't utilize FOB, you probably can let waivers pass overnight without needing to submit a waiver claim for somebody like Audric Estime. If you do use FOB and people are regularly in your league scouring the wire for depth running backs, you might need to throw a buck or two on him, but it shouldn't take more than that. At tight end, probably widely available. Wasn't expecting Mike Gesicki to go for like 8 catches and 2 touchdowns, but this is the world we live in. Mike Gesicki going nuclear on Sunday against the Raiders. If T. Higgins is out, on Thursday Night Football, which it's not looking great for his prospects. He might be missing a third straight game. Mike Gesicki is probably in the must-start territory for tight end. So if you need a tight end, maybe you were relying on Zach Ertz, or maybe somebody else continues to fall short. Gesicki will be in the must-start category at tight end for streaming purposes if T. Higgins does not play on Thursday Night Football, which is looking likely. And then Jatavian Sanders very quietly has been involved for the past few weeks, including last week, with Carolina shipping all of their weapons out, they shipped out Deontay. They didn't ship out Adam Thielen, but he hasn't been playing. It's down to Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker. They're full on youth movement, and they also shipped out Mingo. They shipped out Mingo as well. So that's a vote of confidence for Legette and Coker, but that continues to open up opportunities. Like, there's trickle-down effects there. Jatavian Sanders, you could do worse as a dart throw at tight end. Not that you expect him to, you probably can't count on him every single week, but for the past month, like, he has been a little bit more serviceable than you might realize. Last week, Jatavian Sanders, 4 catches for 87 yards. He was the tight end 9 on the week. Week 8, he didn't do anything, but week 7, he had 6 catches on 6 targets for 61 yards. That was a low-end tight end 1 performance for the week. And the week prior, week 6 against Atlanta, he got 7 targets, turned it into 5 catches for 49 yards. You will take this from a bargain bin, tight end any day of the week. He's been a tight end 1 2 of the past 3 weeks, and that third performance, week 6, he was the tight end 16. Not bad. You weren't using him, but that's what helps put him on the radar, right? Some consistency. So Jatavian Sanders, if you are looking for bottom of the barrel options at tight end, you could do worse. No more Deontay Johnson in Carolina. No more Jonathan Mingo in Carolina. Opportunities opening up all over the place for the Panthers offense. Is there anybody else? I'm trying to think. Herbert at quarterback. Nix if he's still out there. May if he's out there, which he probably is. Russell Wilson, now past his bye week, is worth a stream here and there, 1 quarterback leagues. At running back, again, if you're looking for the deep stashes, Khalil Herbert, Audric Estime, Jaylen Warren is a little bit more rostered than those guys, but there's a decent chance he's available. I believe he's available in 50% of leagues now past his bye week and healthy. Worth a pickup if you could use the running back depth. On Sleeper, he is available in 44% of leagues. So over half of leagues on Sleeper, and that number is probably higher on Yahoo. Jaylen Warren is available. He's worth rostering for at least the next couple of weeks if he's available. Wide receivers, the aforementioned Panthers guys, Legette and Coker, viable dart throws. Quentin Johnston as well continues to make big. He's high variance, but continues to make big plays. Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard for Tampa Bay. Decent options. And then Jatavian Sanders or Mike Gesicki at tight end. Gesicki is a guy that you can absolutely start on Thursday Night Football if T. Higgins is out. That's probably good enough for waiver wire thoughts, overarching waiver wire thoughts. So if you have a specific waiver wire question, obviously I can get to it, but hopefully that sort of answered it. Okay. I can take questions now. I will get members first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. One of the perks of being a member of the channel is you will get your questions answered or comments responded to in priority order. If you're feeling generous enough to send a super, you don't have to, but that'll also be a line jumper. And then I will get to everybody else. So I just ask for some patience as I work through members and any potential supers that come through first. Again, it is Tuesday. We are not needing to set any lineups today. So I'm going to kick down the road start sit questions. I encourage you to come back on Thursday at the earliest for start sit help. We have no information yet. practice reports, injury updates, other than the Thursday night game. And those are all loosely projections because the teams that play on a short week don't really go through traditional practice on this short week. We're talking about just walkthroughs here. So there's only so much information that we can kind of to take from that. T. Higgins has not practiced for 2 days straight as an estimated non-participant for Cincinnati. He is tracking toward missing his third straight game. That would elevate guys like Yossi Vash and Trenton Irwin. And then, of course, Mike Gesicki is on the streaming radar if Higgins is out. Lamar Jackson will play. I believe Keaton Mitchell will be making his debut, but how much work he gets behind Derrick Henry and Justice Hill is yet to be, yet to be known. I believe Isaiah Likely back-to-back DNPs, so we'll see about his status for this week. Outside of that, if you do have a start-sit question that pertains to Thursday Night Football, I would encourage you to come back on Thursday if you can, 6 p.m. Eastern, before the game, talking shop. Then we can sort that stuff out when we have more definitive information as far as practice reports and injury updates, all that good stuff. Okay, I see Greg. What's going on, Greg? I see everybody, but I will get to Greg's questions first, and then I will get to everybody else. So for your quarterback options this week, if you're leaning Russ, then go Russ. I forget who the Steelers play. Who do they get coming out of their bye week? But Russ is if you have your eye on Russ, that's fine. At Washington, that's actually a little bit more of a tougher matchup by the numbers. Washington's been pretty good recently. Their defense has been much improved since the beginning of the season. Bo Nix gets the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. That's a tough spot for him, in theory. I feel like Jacksonville has a decent... who does Jacksonville play this week? Lawrence has been better recently. They're at home against Minnesota. That's who I'd probably try to grab, Greg, is Lawrence. He's been a top 10 quarterback for fantasy 3 of the past 5 weeks, and those other 2 matchups, he was like around the QB 15, so not great, but serviceable. I would pick Lawrence at home against the Vikings. That would be my stream. That would be the guy that I target, Greg, would be Lawrence for this week against Minnesota. And then the week after that against Detroit. Tough matchup with their front 4, but they can be had through the air. So Lawrence presents a potential 2-week stream for you there. I would go Lawrence of those options. Too soon to make this call. Yes, maybe, but we need to see more from Hawkinson. And I expected him to have low numbers in his first game back. He did. He was out there, which was awesome. You saw him get he's getting his sea legs under him, but we're probably still another week or 2 away from firing up Hawkinson. We need to keep this a week at a time for now. In all likelihood, though, yes, Dak being on injured reserve hurts that entire offense. So Hawkinson, I guess Sam Darnold is a more competent, reliable, viable option at quarterback than Cooper Rush. So yes, Hawkinson, I guess, rest of season, but we're going to need to temper expectations for a little bit here with him. As far as Pittman, yeah, I mean, if you need the space, then I guess I can't believe this is where we're at with Michael Pittman. But I mean, yeah, he's not giving you anything. He's not giving anybody anything. He's had one 100-yard game. That was all the way back in week 4. He's only cleared 50 yards receiving one other time. He has 30 yards total the past 2 weeks combined. The high water mark of the wide receiver 21 on any given week. He's been at best a low-end wide receiver 2 and at worst off the fantasy radar. Yeah, if you need the roster spot, for whatever it's for, If it's for like a backup quarterback, then I probably wouldn't, or a backup tight end, I probably wouldn't. But if you need the roster spot and you need a streaming option at either running back or wide receiver, and there's a name that stands out to you on the wire that you want to pick up and potentially fire up this week, or at least have as an option for the next couple of weeks, yeah, Pittman looks to be in that just is droppable category in any 10, 12, maybe not 14 or 16 team leagues. That's probably a tougher sell in deeper leagues, in larger leagues. But 10 and 12 team leagues at this point, if you need the space for a Jaylen Warren for running back depth, a guy like Xavier Legate, Jawan Jennings. I mean, yeah, at this point, these guys can't do any worse than Michael Pittman. This was the question. Yeah, I mean, I would consider these guys. I would consider these at this point. It's like we're getting absolutely nothing from him. Legate or Jennings over these other names. Yeah, Legate or either one, Greg. Legate or Jennings over Pittman at this point. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I would do that. This is where we're at. Pittman has been awful this year. He's been awful. So I'm officially ready to cut ties. I'm officially ready to cut ties. It's awful right now. Yeah. Not over these other dudes, but I mean, how did Douglas do with I missed that game until like the last play where May tied it up. It just so happened to be on the TV behind me at the bar, and it just was it was out of my peripheral sight. 7 catches for 35 yards. I mean, that's decent volume, but like holy low ADOT, Batman. Like that's yards per target 3.89. Good God, that is low. 9 targets is good. It was a bad matchup too, although L'Jarius Sneed was out. No, I'm fine with Legate or Jennings over Pittman. That works for me. That works for me, Greg. And then yeah, I would target Lawrence as your quarterback stream. Let me know if you need anything else. Otherwise, I will go back up to the top. You've Kyler, you have Hurts, you have Tua in a super flex format. Someone wants Tua to give you Mike Evans. And you have no, because you already have Higgins who's hurt, and you have London who is now hurt with the hip injury. So don't take on a third injured wide receiver for a starting quarterback. You need a healthy wide receiver. Right now, your 2 wide receivers, Higgins is tracking not to play, and London picked up a hip injury. They say he's day to day, but like, he's probably not going to practice on Wednesday. Is he going to practice on Thursday? Is he going to play this Sunday? These are all questions we don't know the answer to yet. We know Mike Evans isn't going to play this week, and then his bye is week 11, and then best case scenario, he's back week 12 if there's no setbacks. But we don't know that. No, I'm not doing that. I would be a little bit more interested in that if you had good wide receivers who were healthy, but you've got they're good when they play, but they're hurt right now. I don't want a third injured wide receiver. No. No, I don't want a third injured wide receiver. Not for a starting quarterback in Superflex. No. Yeah. Give me a healthy wide receiver, and then we can talk. You have Bowers, so you need a tight end. Kraft. Well, you're not picking up. The Packers are on bye this week as well, so you're not playing Kraft because Kraft is on bye. Goddard hasn't been playing. I don't know what his status is right now. But he hasn't been playing for a couple of weeks. It's down to Taysom Hill. I mean, if these are your best three options, then your best option is Taysom Hill because Kraft is on bye and Goddard is injured. Has there been any update on him since Sunday? I think he missed like his third straight game this past week, right? Yeah, we have no update. So no, it's got to be Taysom Hill, and I don't want to drop any of those guys. This might be shallow rosters, or maybe this Shuba no, Mooney no. I mean Myers, I don't think so. I guess it's McConkey was kind of quiet this past week. What did Myers do? Myers had another day. I guess McConkey, if you have to pick up some or drop somebody, then I guess McConkey. Not dropping Chuba, not dropping Myers, not dropping Mooney. But yeah, Taysom Hill for McConkey, sure, that's fine. What do you do with CD? That's the $1 million question with the Cowboys right now in general. But obviously CD, our first round pick, someone who we were relying on for heavy points and production this year. Ceiling is officially capped. Not just with Dak's injury, but CD himself is week to week with an AC sprain. I don't think you can do anything at this particular time with CD because, like, what are you going to do? Trade him? I mean, that's what we're alluding to here, right? Like, for anybody who would see, like, what are we going to do? Trade him? Okay. For what? What would you be comfortable accepting? And then the more important question, if you do find someone who's willing to take him, what are they offering you? What are they willing to offer you? Because right now that offer might be pennies on the dollar. And yes, it sucks that Dak is hurt, but there's optimism that CD can play this week. His ceiling is capped, but backup quarterbacks tend to hyper-target their top weapons regardless, so CD's volume shouldn't go anywhere. He should be able to come through with a lot of targets if he's able to play. The problem is, if you try to trade him, somebody's going to say, well, he's injured right now. He's got this AC sprain, AC joint sprain to be more specific. He's listed as week to week. He might not play this week. He might, and if he does, he's playing less than 100%. So, like, what are you going to get in return? An RB2? That's not good enough. Even in our current state, in our current circumstances, that's not good enough. I think you have to hold. I don't think we have a choice. I know it sucks. We could be looking at maybe not, it might not be this bad, but we're looking at a situation with the Dolphins offense without Tua where the ceiling is capped and these guys may not be able to do a whole lot. But to that point, what are you going to get? What are you going to get in return? Is somebody willing to give you another wide receiver 1? Then okay, maybe just take it. But what are you going to get? A wide receiver 2? Like a Darnell Mooney? No disrespect to Darnell Mooney. He's been awesome this year. But are we really going to do that? And he might, maybe he has a game here and there now moving forward. If Drake London has to miss a game or two with this hip injury, like even in an expanded role where he's theoretically the number 1 wide receiver for a couple weeks, are we really doing that? Are we really taking a trade like that? I don't know if I could bring myself to do that. Just like think of random name that like might get thrown out there. I don't think we have a choice. I think we have to stick with him for now and just hope for the best. Because I can only assume, I mean, let me know if somebody in your league, if you have an offer on the table for him, but if we're getting pennies on the dollar, then I'd rather just keep and hold. And, I'd rather hold and just hope for the best, hope that they can come through with volume. We've seen star wide receivers come through even when catching passes from backup quarterbacks in the past because backup quarterbacks hyper target them. Hey, MVM joining on as a member of the channel. Appreciate that, MVM. Thank you for the support. The continued support. I know you've sent support to the channel before. Much appreciated. But thanks for joining on. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. And what's going on, Rojo? I don't think I see any questions from you, MVM, yet. No, I don't. But if you do, let me know. Yeah, dude, Mooney. He's been a wide receiver 1 on the season. I don't know if somebody, I have CeeDee Lamb in a league myself. If somebody offered me Mooney for CeeDee straight up, I don't think I could bring myself to do that. But like the production has been there where it's like, that's not a totally unfair offer. But yeah, Mooney for a couple thirds. That's a league winning type of move right there. That's the type of move that makes that helps you win leagues. And again, just for anybody jumping in, first of all, welcome. Whether you're new or have been around the block, just as a reminder, I get to member questions first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. So I have my spot in line. I am not skipping questions, so fear not. Promise to get to everybody. No need to repeat any questions. I gotcha. I will make sure I get to all of your questions, but I got to get to members first. And yes, Rojo, appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. I forgot to mention that. If you are new, if you have been around before, if you're a member, if you're not, regardless, if you're enjoying the conversation, the stream, the dialogue, all that good stuff, I just ask that you like the stream. That helps me out for algorithm purposes. Appreciate it. Liggett, Johnston, McMillan are on waivers. Do you drop Worthy? No. Ferguson? No. Or Tank Bigsby? No, I don't think so. I don't know I forget who your tight end two or who your tight end 1 is. It might be Otten. I forget who you have. If you have Otten or maybe Bowers or Kittle, then obviously you can just move forward with those guys. I mean, Ferguson, I'd rather not drop him. But unfortunately, the window to potentially trade him to a tight end needy team is probably now gone because everybody's going to be like, well, Dak is out, so why would I trade for Jake Ferguson? Understandable. But he is coming off of another good performance. He had 7 catches for 71 yards. Like, he might catch a lot of short passes from Cooper Rush as like a security blanket, a backup quarterback safety valve option. He's coming off of a good week. I wouldn't drop Ferguson outright. I'm not ready to give up on Worthy, even though he didn't do anything on Monday night. And I'm not giving up on Tank Bigsby. Bad week, but you figured you would have a bad week. Bad spot on the injury report, along with Travis Etienne. They both played. It was a bad matchup against the Eagles. I would hold. I would hang on to running back depth instead of, a wide receiver 4 or 5. I'd rather hold on to running back depth. So, no, I don't think so. I'm not ready to give up on Worthy just yet. And there's a good chance that at least one of these guys will be available later in the week if we ultimately feel like we need to pivot, if Worthy pops up on the injury report. Hopefully he doesn't. I don't think but you never know. With random injuries pop up all the time. Again, we got to wait until tomorrow to start getting the first batch of true injury updates or practice reports. Thursday night practice reports excluded. But, he's still a big – Worthy's still got big-time play potential in this offense, in this Chiefs offense. So if I'm not relying on him, I'm willing to wait on him for at least another week. Ferguson not dropping. Trying to trade once again, to a tight end needy team if possible. Yes, Dak is gone, but he was still a top 10 tight end on the week this week. His usage should be okay. So I don't want to drop him, and I don't want to drop running back depth. Not yet. Not yet. What's going on, Jay? Good to see you. Hopkins balled out last night. I don't know that I'm starting him yet over Brian Robinson. We don't know if Brian Robinson's going to play. Like, we got to see practice reports. If he comes back, he's a great running back option. If Nico Collins plays, he probably needs to just go into your starting lineup, but we got to see how that goes this week. There's been optimism about Nico, but we don't know for sure until it actually happens, until it actually comes to fruition. If Nico plays, if Nico returns, then I would play Nico Collins, but we got to get through this week first. But yeah, I mean, all viable options rest of season, all guys that need to be on your, if Hopkins was dropped and you picked him up, I mean, he's a hold now for sure. Not sure I'm expecting 2 touchdowns every week or even 1, but he's in a great spot. Great spot to contribute rock solid numbers rest of the way. We just got to see practice reports before we make any calls on the starting lineup. But if you have all 3, they all look like good options to have moving forward. Even Robinson after having not played. Still valuable running back depth. Okay. So again, I guess maybe Jones for the matchup, but who's got injuries? Which wide receivers for these quarterbacks are on the injury report? Which any offensive linemen happen to be out for their quarterbacks, and therefore it might make it a little bit more difficult. We gotta get through practice reports first with start sit questions. I would encourage you to come back over the weekend if you can. I will be live Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, to talk start sit help. When we have all the information possible available to us, we can sort out start sit questions. Maybe dimes against the Panthers, but there's a long way to go. There's a long way to go until Sunday. I can take trade questions, though. You get Kyler, Mixon, and is that Jefferson? Okay. Kyler, Mixon, Jefferson. You give up Allen, Taylor, Neighbors. Yeah, I would do that. Yes. Yeah, I would do that trade. Yeah. I mean, you're upgrading in two areas. You're going from Taylor to Mixon. That's an upgrade. You're going from Neighbors to Justin Jefferson. That's an upgrade. Yeah, it's probably a downgrade going from Allen to Kyler, but Allen hasn't been like the top of the line, top 5 slam dunk quarterback every single week like he has in seasons past. I know Kyler didn't do anything this past week. Allen had a good week, but there's been 4 different occasions this year where Allen has been outside the QB1 range. That hasn't been the case for him in seasons past. He's been more inconsistent this year. He's still awesome. No one's taking that away from him. He's still awesome. But Kyler's been perfectly fine, and you're upgrading at 2 spots. Yes, I would take this offer. I would take this trade. And there's no need to duplicate the questions. I appreciate everybody's patience. But I promise I'll get to them all. But yes, I would do that trade. Someone offered you Downs for Russell Wilson in a Superflex format. You have Collins, you have Tyreek, you have Deontay, you have Tillman, you have Daniels, you have Burrow. Oh, you'd be giving up Russ and getting Downs? That's the question. You have Russ in a Superflex league, and you would be giving him up for Josh Downs? No, I wouldn't do that, because that takes away from your quarterback depth in a Superflex league. We know how quickly that can go down the drain, how quickly that can go downhill. You're getting Nico Collins back. You weathered the storm with Tyreek Hill. He's back in the mix as a high-end wide receiver option. It didn't exactly happen for him this week, but we're back to firing up Tyreek Hill as a no-brainer, at least each week, with Tua back healthy. No, you get Russ past his bye week now. No, I'm not giving up a quarterback in Superflex for a wide receiver that I do like, but he's just not as valuable as even a QB3. You need that quarterback depth to survive a Superflex season, the way you need running back depth to survive a 1 quarterback league season. No, keep your quarterbacks, especially because Flacco turned back into a pumpkin on Sunday night. Like, they can say the Colts for now that Flacco's their quarterback rest of season, but we all know how quickly that type of tune can change. I would not. And then now what? If you trade Russ and Flacco goes back to the bench, you're down to Daniels and Burrow, which are your obvious starters week to week. But what happens if something happens to one of those 2 guys? Now you're left with Josh Downs in the Superflex spot. That's no good. No, keep your quarterbacks. Keep your quarterbacks. What's up, Emil? Good to see you. What running backs can you trade DJ Moore for? Like, you're trying to trade DJ Moore? You're trying to trade DJ Moore to acquire a running back? You're going to have, you're probably not anybody super noteworthy, to be completely honest. Moore is a wide receiver 2 on the season, but he's had a lot of quiet weeks recently. Had another quiet game this past week as the Bears offense continues to struggle. more often than not. I mean, the past 3 weeks, the past month, DJ Moore, week 6, was the wide receiver 70. Then he had a bye week 7. He was the wide receiver 69 week 8 and the wide receiver 55 last week. He hasn't even, like the past 3 weeks, if hindsight's 2020, but at the past 3 weeks, we should not have started DJ Moore. I mean, he's a wide receiver 2 on the season who has been disappointing the past couple of weeks. You could try to get, you're not going to get Chase Brown at this point. You could try to get Najee Harris, Ramondre Stevenson. You could try Jonathan Brooks. I mean, you could maybe try to be aggressive and try for like James Conner, or you're probably not going to get Kareem Hunt. You could try for like Rico Dowdle, maybe. He's been playing pretty well. He caught a touchdown this past week, but Dallas, they just lost Dak, so maybe somebody who has Rico and they're panicking a little bit. That's the best you could probably hope for. You're not going to get Dobbins. I don't think you're going to get Pollard. You're not going to get Montgomery or Jacobs or Swift or even guys like Brees or B. You're not going to get Bijan. Like, you're not going to get any of those guys for DJ Moore. He's been underperforming recently. You could try for James Conner. You could try for James Cook. That's a little aggressive, maybe. You could try for Rico Dowdle, Najee Harris, maybe Ramondre. That's going to be that's the best you could probably hope for, though. DJ Moore's been disappointing these past few weeks. We know he's good, but Caleb has been inconsistent, and the offense in general doesn't look very good. So you're not going to get a great player, admittedly. I mean, if you do, any one of those guys would be good, but like, I would be a little surprised. Try it, but I would be surprised if you got anything better than, say, if you got Najee, that would be fine. Or like a Rico Dowdle. And then Rojo, let me see. Superflex, you got Burrow, you got Baker, you got Cousins, you got Herbert. This is all very strong. If you were to ship a quarterback for Pitt, okay, who would I shop? Who would I keep? Well, you're competing with this group. Rojo, remind me, do you have Chase as well in this league? Do you have the Burrow Chase stack? So you're not trading Burrow. You're not trading Burrow anyway, but you're definitely not trading Burrow if you have Chase. I mean, how badly do you need wide receiver help? This is a win now collection of quarterbacks, and I don't know that I necessarily want to give any of them up. Herbert, I want to keep the long view on. Baker has been absolutely killing it this year, so I don't want to give him up with Evans coming back. And I mean, I guess that means you could move Cousins, but he's been solid. He's viable in a pinch. Burrow still has his bye week coming up. Mayfield still has his bye week coming up. Does Cousins have his bye week still? I don't think the Falcons have had their bye week yet. They haven't. It's week 12. So 3 of your 4 quarterbacks still have their bye week to get through. So you have to navigate that. Like, if you're contending, unless it's like bare bones at wide receiver, I don't want to trade these guys. This is a good collection of, high-end talent, veterans, a guy who's still young, who you have high expectations for long-term is Herbert. Penix waiting in the wings. Travis, you could try, like Jordan Travis. If you want to be aggressive, Penix would be the one to give up if you're wanting to make the win now move. But if you're trying to hedge the now and the future, then Penix is a guy that you need to hang on to. I mean, Travis is not going to get that much. Travis might net you a 3rd round pick. I would think a 4th is more likely. I guess your key trade piece is Penix if you're willing to make a win now move, because Penix isn't going to help you win this year. Of course, it's sort of like a stack with Cousins. It's a pseudo stack in Superflex to have the starter and the backup. So I wouldn't necessarily say that you have to move Penix. Yeah, I think I ultimately, unless you're starting you and me at wide receiver, I would probably try to sit tight and not really do anything at quarterback. That's a good collection of win now talent that you have, and the future. Burrow's going to be good for years. Herbert's going to be good for years. Baker's going to be good for like at least multiple years. That figure. He's still only 30 years old. Cousins is a little older. He's 36, so he's only got a little bit of time left. But you have his heir apparent. So I don't think I would do anything here, to be completely honest. I don't think I would do anything here. But let me know what your wide receiver situation is if you want me to give any additional thoughts knowing that situation. Okay, those are the member questions that I've received so far. So let me move back up to my spot in line. I got this question. My answer is no. Keep Russell Wilson. Yeah, I would bench Waddle at this point. Some start sit questions. If it feels straightforward to me, I'll address it. But again, I do encourage folks with start sit questions to come back later in the week or on the weekend when we have practice reports and injury updates and all that good stuff. But yes, on the surface, this looks like that's the type of lineup that I would set if those were my options and Waddle was my odd man out. I'm okay with that. Yep, that's fine. And the Giants are a perfectly fine play on defense. It looks like this. Yeah, that looks like this question got duplicated. I'm just going to delete the duplicate just to declutter things a little bit, but appreciate the question, Nick. But yes, that is what I would do. And then as far as Giants defense, yeah, they're playing Carolina, and the Giants still, I believe, do they still lead the NFL in sacks? If not, they're top 2 or 3. Yeah, they are. They're still number 1. So yeah, I mean, against Carolina, and they have a decent pass rush, yeah, the Giants are a perfectly fine play this week. Yeah, they're a good play. That's totally fine. Let's see. You have a Kincaid. Oh, this is for week 12? We'll worry about that when it's time to worry about that. I understand people you like to be prepared in advance. You like to have plan things out in advance. I don't care to pick up a tight end 2 that I need 2 weeks from now. Like, I'll pick up a tight end if I have Dalton Kincaid, who I know has been disappointing this year. What did he do against the Dolphins this past week? 4 catches, 32 yards. Not very good. 10 targets is good. 4 for 32 is not. However, okay. I know that Dalton Kincaid has been frustrating this year, but he has the 2 best matchups probably of his season coming up in back-to-back weeks. He has the Indianapolis Colts this weekend, week 10, and the Kansas City Chiefs, week 11. You are starting him both of those weeks. And if Kincaid doesn't do anything these next 2 weeks, then you can just drop Kincaid outright week 12. I'm not worrying about picking up a tight end 2 that I need 2 weeks from now, because 2 weeks from now, the guy that I pick up today might not be a guy that I want to start. You have a dude now who I know he's been frustrating. He has not had the best year, but the Colts are terrible at stopping the tight end. And if the Chiefs have a weakness on their defense, it's stopping the tight end. These are good matchups for Dalton Kincaid in weeks 10 and 11. You are firing him up this week. You are firing him up next week. And we are expecting good performances both weeks. Dalton Kincaid should finish these next 2 weeks as a tight end 1. This goes for anybody who has Dalton Kincaid. We're not worried about his bye week because it's 2 weeks from now. If Dalton Kincaid finishes as a tight end 1 this week and a tight end 1 next week, then we feel better. We feel okay about the fact that we drafted Kincaid. We'll sit on his week 12 bye, and we'll move forward with him in week 13 after we pass the bye week. If Kincaid does not finish as a tight end 1 in both of these weeks, in week 10 and week 11, you start him these 2 weeks, but then you drop him outright for for any other tight end on the wire. Because if he can't do it against Indianapolis and Kansas City, then I will make a sadly bold call that he won't do it against anybody rest of the year. So we're not worried about a Kincaid backup yet. It's 2 weeks from now. We are firing him up with confidence this week. Even if he does poorly, we are firing him up with confidence once again week 11 because of the matchup. Even if he does well that game, if he does poorly week 10, if he does well week 11, that's 1 out of 2. That's 50% of passing in good matchups. That's a failing grade. We drop. But you rock with him week 10 and week 11, and if he does well, you hold, and we'll deal with the tight end 2 when it's time to deal with it. If he does not kill it in both of these matchups, and that's to say finish as a tight end 1 weeks 10 and 11, then Kincaid himself is the drop week 12. That's for anybody with Dalton Kincaid. But we don't need to worry about a pickup this week. We'll worry about that. We'll worry about week 12 in week 12. I'm not worried about a backup tight end right now. Is Tank Dell worth keeping rest of season? He certainly is. Yeah. I'm not worried about the matchups on paper. Nico Collins coming back probably helps him. And Stephon Diggs is not coming back. And Dalton Schultz is stuck in mud running routes out there. It is going, like, when Nico Collins comes back, I do not think that hurts Tank Dell. I think that helps Tank Dell because those top flight matchups, the number 1 corners, are going to be on Nico. That's going to open things up for Tank. Yes, he's worth keeping. He's worth starting. I'm not worried about Tank Dell rest of season. Not with Steph. We know Stephon Diggs isn't coming back. I'm not worried about Tank Dell. I'll look at his matchups right now because I have Tank Dell in multiple leagues, including 2 dynasty leagues. What's he got? He's got the Lions this week. Good matchup. He's got the Cowboys this week. Good matchup. He's got the Titans week 12. He won't see L'Jarius Sneed. He might here and there, but Nico's going to get him. He gets Jacksonville week 13. Great matchup. Bye week 14. Late bye. That hurts. But week 15, Miami. Nico's going to see Jalen Ramsey. Week 16, Kansas City. It's a tough matchup, but they're going to be throwing in that game. And then week 17, he has the best matchup that he could possibly ask for, championship week against Baltimore. I'm not worried about that matchup schedule at all for Tank Dell. Yes, he's worth keeping. He's not only worth keeping, he's worth starting every week for the rest of the year. And then as far as Ferguson, yeah, he's higher risk with Cooper Rush in at quarterback. But again, backup quarterbacks hyper-target their top weapons. That is going to be CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson. I would think he can still command 10 targets in a game where Rush might struggle, but they are at home. They are at home, and they're probably going to have to throw the ball against Philly. So, yeah, high risk, high reward. If you don't have a better option, then you can still fire him up. I wouldn't fire anybody else up, even Jalen Tolbert. If CeeDee Lamb misses the game, then I would fire up Jalen Tolbert. But if CeeDee Lamb plays, I would only play CeeDee and Ferguson. I would not play Jalen Tolbert without Dak, unless CeeDee is out. So Ferguson, I think, will be fine. Let's see. And I got the member questions. If my members need anything else, just let me know. You traded George Pickens, a 26 first, and Coker for Jaden Reed, Kincaid, Eckler, and a 25 second. I have questions. Do we have any type of unique scoring setting? This is clearly a dynasty league, right? This is not a keeper league. This is a dynasty league. Do we have any unique scoring settings in your league? Is it tight end premium? Like half or full PPR? What is you're getting you're acquiring Eckler, who's older. Like what does the rest of your backfield look like? What do the rest of your receivers look like? You gave up a 2026 first round pick, so you're trading. You got a second round pick back this year, but like what type of capital do you have moving forward? I guess you're in a win now mode. Like, who was your starting tight end, and who are you moving out of there now to start Kincaid? Like Pickens for Reed in Dynasty, I like them both. Giving up a first round pick 2 years from now to pick up a young emerging tight end in Kincaid and a veteran in Eckler, like, okay, fine. Second round pick, and giving up a depth wide receiver in Coker. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind your return. I don't mind the return. I guess as long as I know that you're, is it a tight end premium league? Then I like getting Kincaid. Is it not? Then okay, then it's fine. Young ascending tight end. He's been a little disappointing this year, but young ascending tight end. Eckler, veteran running back. I don't know how much time he has left. Maybe only a couple of years, but it's a win now move. So yeah, I mean, if you have a win now roster, then these are good pieces to have added to it. Yeah, depends on some other variables though, with like what the rest of your roster looks like, because you gave up a first round pick, not for this year, but down the road. So I would hope, that presumably that means you expect to be in contention for a couple of years, if not more. I got Emil, I got Rojo, but if you guys need anything else, just let me know. Yeah, I mean, again, so we need to see practice reports and injury reports and all that good stuff. The Bengals are playing the Ravens on a short week. I would probably go. I mean, Chase Brown's tough to trust against the Ravens, but he feels like a guy that you can't go against. If you can come back for Thursday, I can maybe give a more definitive answer. Tyrone Tracy, it's a beautiful matchup against Carolina, and that's probably where I would even go. I don't want to sit David Montgomery, but I mean, these are two top flight options that I think you have to seriously consider. Who do the Lions have this week? I don't even know. Houston on the road, so that's not a great matchup actually for Montgomery. So yeah, maybe Chase Brown and Tyrone Tracy. If you can come back Thursday, I'll maybe give a more definitive answer, depending on how I feel, based on what more we might know, injury updates, practice reports, all that. Chase Brown and Tyrone Tracy tentatively put them in there. That's what I'm thinking. Appreciate it, Roho. Thank you, bro. I try. I have no flash, but hopefully I overcompensate the lack of flash with a little bit of decent substance, hopefully. But appreciate it. Let's see. Would I trade Neighbors and one of your running backs? You have good running backs for CD. It's down to like who do you trust more, Daniel Jones or Cooper Rush for at least the next month? And if the Cowboys season spirals out and goes in the toilet, does Dak even come back this year? And do they shut down CD? I don't think I would do this. If it was Neighbors for Lamb straight up, I would roll the dice. And that's the type of not that it's not a low ball offer, but it is a little lopsided on paper. But given the new circumstances, it's a little bit more of an even trade with the uncertainty around Cooper Rush, the Cowboys offense, the Cowboys season in general, plus CD himself being on the injury report. The fact that you would have to give up a running back in addition, I would say no. Even if it's just Chubb, even if it's like Neighbors and Chubb, I would move. You have Hall, you have Kamara, you have Brown, you have Dobbins, you have Hunt. I would move Chubb for like a lower level move at wide receiver. But I don't think I would move Neighbors and any of like Chase Brown or Dobbins or Hunt for CeeDee Lamb. Not now. Not now. If Dak was healthy and CD didn't have an AC joint, and the ask was, should I trade Neighbors and Hunt for CD? I might say, yeah. Go for broke. Go for broke and pick up CeeDee Lamb. But now, I think I say no. If you can get Lamb for just Neighbors, I might be willing to roll those dice. Because you're loaded at running back, and that keeps you propped up. But if it's going to cost Neighbors plus for a wide receiver who is week to week with an AC joint sprain and his quarterback is on injured reserve and their season is going downhill fast, I think I say no. Which sucks because CD is such a stud, but I don't think I want to trade Neighbors plus to acquire CD right now. There's a lot of question marks. Gesicki. If T. Higgins is out, then Gesicki. The Baltimore Ravens can be had through the air on defense. Gesicki. I mean, we're not expecting a repeat performance of what he did against the Raiders, but why not feel confident about him if T. Higgins is out this week, which it's looking like he will be? Gesicki. If Higgins plays, then, maybe Taysom. I would again encourage you to come back. If T. Higgins is active on Thursday night, then I would maybe encourage you to come back either Thursday night for a definitive answer on Gesicki, or the weekend for Henry versus Taysom. But if Higgins is out, then I would probably just fire up Gesicki. With Olave, this one is tricky. It's possible that he goes on injured reserve. This is a ridiculous, an unfortunately high number of concussions for Chris Olave in a very short amount of time. The Saints are 2-7. He's suffered at least 2 more concussions this year, and I believe he's got 5 altogether, dating back to his rookie year. I would think at this point he is a candidate for injured reserve. I don't want to drop him yet because we don't officially definitively know what's going to happen. If he goes on IR and if you don't have an IR spot for him in your league, then sure, he's droppable, but I wouldn't do it yet. Not while he hasn't been placed on injured reserve yet, so I'm not dropping him yet. But if he goes on IR and you don't have an IR spot to stash him in and you need the roster spot, then yes, he's droppable. You could also try to trade him to a team that has the best record or one of the best records in your league. Try to trade him to those teams for as a playoff run stash and get a healthy player now. You could try that. But if nobody wants to go for him and he lands on injured reserve and you can't stash him on IR yourself, then yes, you can drop him. So we got to sit tight on Chris Olave. Don't drop him tonight. Let's wait and see what type of any new potential diagnoses that we get in the coming days. Rojo, you've got some real solid. You're rock solid. I mean, I know AJ got hurt. Puka got ejected. Classic. Fantasy football is the most fun sometimes, right, guys? We nervously waited for Puka to come back. Maybe we didn't play him. Maybe he was on our bench when he returned on that Thursday night game, and he had like 7 catches for over 100 yards. And then we confidently fire him back up into our lineups this week, and he throws a punch and gets ejected. Gotta love it, right? No, you're good, Rojo. You're fine. You don't need wide receiver help. I know you lost Diggs and you lost Shaheed, but you have Jamar Chase, you have AJ Brown, you have Puka. That's 3 wide receiver ones. Darnell Mooney has been a wide receiver 1 this year. As your wide receiver 4, you are living life just fine. Jennings, good depth. Pearsall, young developing dart throw. Kayshon Boutte has been has been involved, and Drake May has elevated that offense. Like, as your wide receiver 7, that's fine. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. I would do nothing. I would do nothing, Rojo. I would sit tight. I would sit tight. You have the quarterbacks. You have the receivers. I think you're good. You're all right. I wouldn't worry about doing anything here. Yeah, you have the squad you need to compete. Let's see. And you have enough. Okay, Amon-Ra, Devontae. Yeah, that's enough. That's enough depth. Even though Waddle has been wildly disappointing this year. Yeah, keep Olave on injured reserve if you have an injured reserve spot. We'll if we have to move on from him, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But for me, now is not the time. Not yet. That's all the questions I have right now. Is Jennings worth a stash? Yeah, not over any of those other wide receivers you named, but yeah, Jennings is worth a stash if you have, I don't know, like if you were rostering like a Dontavian Wicks or something like that. Somebody in that range of like percent rostered or percent ownership, like, okay, fine, but not over the names that you mentioned. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're okay with the guys that you have. Amon-Ra, Devontae Smith's a damn stud. Waddle was disappointing, but at least he caught a touchdown this week. I would stick with what you have for now. Okay, now I don't see any new questions, but I'm happy to stick around a bit longer if anybody has anything. I wasn't sure how late I was going to go this evening or for how long. I wasn't sure how many folks are around or if anybody's paying attention to everything else that's going on this evening. So if nobody needs anything else, I can bring this to a close. I will be live again on Thursday ahead of Thursday Night Football. If anybody needs anything leading into Bengals Ravens, and then of course Saturday 5 p.m. Eastern. Sunday is the final international game. I was saying like a week ago or 10 days ago that week 9 was the Munich game, and I was wrong. So apologies. It's this week is the Munich game. So final international game of the year this week. So there won't be a Sunday morning stream, but you can catch me on Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern for start, sit, help. and we'll get into everything that you guys need for your lineups for week 10. Yeah, so I mean, as like Jawan Jennings, Demarcus Robinson, these guys are that are available on waivers. Like, who are you dropping? Not any of those wide receivers you named. Like, who are you dropping to pick one of those guys up? If it has to be like a, Jade or Jalen Waddle, then no shot. Even Waddle, who I know has been disappointing, but he's healthy and he caught a touchdown this past week. And no, I'm just not giving up on him yet. He's been disappointing, but I'm not giving up on him yet. It depends on who you have available, like, or who's at the end of your bench. As far as who you can drop to pick one of these guys up, but not any of these wide receivers. Not Waddle. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet with him. I know he's been annoying. I know he's been frustrating, but like, he finally caught a touchdown. I know he went for -4 yards receiving on a gimmick, on a desperation play where he ran backwards for 25 yards for some reason. We're not expecting that week over week. I would keep what you have. And no, we're not. Tracy, no. You're holding Tyrone Tracy rest of season. Yeah. Nope. Okay, no. Demarcus Robinson, no. Jawan Jennings, no. This is these rosters are I guess this might be a 10 or this might be 8 or 10 team league. If it's a 10 team league, like, these rosters are too shallow for you to worry about those guys. You have good players. Stick with them. Stick with those guys. Stick with Tyrone Tracy for sure. Okay. Just a final review of the overarching thoughts on the waiver wire this week. At quarterback, Drake May, Bo Nix, Justin Herbert. Any one of those three guys are worth an add and stream in one quarterback leagues, especially if you have Geno Smith or Jordan Love, somebody else on bye. Running back, Jalen Warren, if he's out there. Deeper league dart throws, Khalil Herbert. Audric Estime, Roshan Johnson, now with Khalil like completely out of the picture in Chicago. He already was, but now he's officially gone. Top targets at wide receiver, Quentin Johnston, Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker, Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard. Any one of these guys in deeper leagues is a decent dart throw. Jerry Jeudy would also make this list, but the Browns are on bye this week, so you can't utilize him. But he's a decent guy for down the line. It would potentially appear, again, in deeper leagues. And then top options at tight end, Mike Gesicki. You can start him on Thursday night if T. Higgins doesn't play, which isn't looking good. Hunter Henry is viable with Drake May running the show in New England, and a deep stash or going even deeper, giving him a longer look. Jatavian Sanders, rookie out of Carolina. He's been sneaky, quietly productive 3 out of the past 4 weeks. And he gets a beatable matchup against the Giants, and the Panthers shipped out Deontay Johnson. They shipped out Jonathan Mingo. More opportunities are opening up in this offense. He should be relatively free. I think that'll do it for this evening, but appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out for a short amount of time on this what is sure to be an interesting evening, an interesting Tuesday, with it obviously being the election. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are paying attention to that. But I wanted to, hang out for at least a little while, maybe take a break from all of that stuff, maybe talk some shop, talk some football. So to my members, shout out, appreciate everybody coming in, spending some time tonight, but special shout out as always to the members. Greg, MVM became a new member. Appreciate it. Welcome to the group, MVM. Welcome to the member group anyway. Rojo, as always, you already know. Jay, Emil. Appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out tonight. I will be back on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, ahead of Bengals Ravens for anything that anybody needs ahead of the game. And then, of course, start sit help on Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Will help sort out your Week 10 lineup. Everybody enjoy the rest of your evening and these next couple of days, however you're choosing to spend it. Have fun. Stay safe. Be safe. And I will see you guys on Thursday ahead of Bengals versus Ravens. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your evenings.